Well, the Trump administration has ordered a halt to congestion pricing, and while Governor Hochul and the MTA are vowing to take this fight to the courts, one local leader is applauding the cancellation of this toll.
Republican Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis joins us now. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. What have you heard from your constituents regarding this order potentially coming to an end?
Well, the majority of my constituents are thrilled because they do not want to have to pay thousands of dollars to go to work or to go to healthcare appointments. And remember, I represent a lot of first responders and healthcare workers, restaurant workers, people who have to go into Manhattan at odd hours. They don't feel comfortable riding the city subway system because the governor has not made it safe. And so they choose to drive in at those odd shifts. And they're just very happy that the president understood as a New Yorker that this was something that was hurting our city's economy, that it was hurting the small businesses, and it was hurting our first responders and our working families.
Well, right now it's temporary pause. What does it look like to you as this being a full victory as this is held up in court right now?
Yeah, well, the governor says that she's going to fight it in court. And as you know, we still have our lawsuit in court where we've been pushing to stop it because this was done in violation of federal law. There was never an environmental impact study as required by the National Environmental Policy Act. And what I'll say is that the president was well within his legal right to reverse the previous administration's rubber stamping of congestion pricing. So although this was a policy that came out of the state legislature, there was a federal approval process administratively, and the Biden administration signed off on it without even requiring this first-in-the-nation program to adhere to NEPA laws and conducting a full and thorough environmental impact statement. And so, therefore, this administration, I believe, is well within its right to reverse the decision. I'm glad that President Trump did so.
Well, while we have you, Congresswoman, we wanted to ask you about this latest round of DOGE cuts. 20% of the World Trade Center health program staff laid off. You actually signed a bipartisan letter to President Trump asking for those cuts to be reversed and get those staff members back to work. Have you had a chance to talk to the president?
No, that letter was sent late yesterday, and I've not spoken with him today. But what I will say is that, look, while we're all looking for efficiencies, we want the government to be more efficient and respect the taxpayer. We have to make sure that we're doing this with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. And in this particular case, as somebody who represents a community that has a lot of 9/11 first responders and victims who are suffering each and every day still from illnesses related to 9/11, we want to make sure that any of these cuts do not affect the patients. And so we are asking that the administration revisit this. We hope that they reverse it or prove to us that it will not have an effect on the services and the health care treatments that these individuals desperately need. This has been a top priority of mine. This program, by the way, the 9/11 health care program, it is fully funded through 2027. This particular cut is related to staffing, and we want to make sure, though, that those staff cuts do not affect the patient experience or the healthcare treatment that these 9/11 responders who suffer so terribly from these illnesses, that they don't have to suffer any further.
Sure, absolutely. In your mind, taking a sledgehammer to some of these federal agencies, that would be a win for you. What have you seen as a positive net outcome from DOGE so far?
Well, you've seen so many unnecessary things that have been our money has been spent on. I mean, at the end of the day, we want our government to be efficient. And when you see that there's grants for all sorts of unnecessary things in foreign countries, I mean, you know, paying to have Sesame Street run in Iraq, sending condoms to Africa. I mean, there are just certain things that the taxpayer, particularly when we're having a $37 trillion debt, we need to get our fiscal house in order, and we need to balance our books. And we can't do that if we're spending money all over the globe for all sorts of things. By the way, the amount of money that we're spending, billions of dollars, on unnecessary, cruel, and inhumane animal testing, using monkeys for transgender hormone therapy, horrific experiments on cats and beagles. We were able to stop quite a few of them, That's one obvious thing where we shouldn't be spending taxpayer money. We're even funding experiments, by the way, in China, which we know is where the virus came from, the coronavirus. And we're also funding even experiments in other countries that have subpar safety conditions. Why? So those are examples. We want to cut the bureaucracy, the fraud, the waste, the abuse, and make government efficient. But we need to do it strategically and make sure that we're not, hurting people, Americans in particular, and also making sure that we're respecting the taxpayer in the process, but that we don't have unintended consequences like we could potentially be seeing right now with the 9/11 healthcare program.
Yeah, it's all been very eye-opening. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.